All right, my friends, it is August the 11th, Monday morning. Let's go ahead and do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. Okay, so starting off, go ahead and warn you we've got CPI on Tuesday. Maybe that'll create a trading opportunity for us. More on that later in the video. Let's go ahead and dive into the macro yap. So jumping straight into things. First and foremost, right, we're trend respectors. That's always the main talking point with the macro. The uptrend is clearly intact still, and we want to always be trend respectors. So any dip buying opportunities, you're going to take those and say thank you. Yo, guys, hit that like and subscribe button for me. Appreciate it. Moving forward, I think that let's just go ahead and talk about the doodle bit first. So I really did not expect us to do the V recovery and re-accept back into the range. Clearly, that's what's taking place in front of us right now. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a painful sideways chop. We chopped a little bit in this range, but very, very quickly got that recovery. Sign of strength from bulls, obviously, right? So moving forward, I expect that, you're just basically waiting for the next spark of momentum. Who knows whether it's just going to be from a random flurry of buying, whether it's going to come from a piece of news, I don't know, right? But now's the time to be just patient, be long biased, be patient. Eventually a spark's going to come. Worst case scenario for us is us, seeing this recent move end up kind of failing and us trading back towards this distribution. From which you would want to be buying the dip, I would say like 113, 112. I don't think that's most likely. If we are to pull back in the short term, I think you're looking at like 118 as your buy the dip zone. But yeah, I mean, essentially, like we had talked about from a quarterly basis, I do think that Q3 was set up to mostly be chop. It's been mostly chopped thus far. We are getting, we're pushing, about halfway through now. So the idea is that, you should expect some sort of fuck you event to either take place at the end of Q3 or at the beginning of Q4. Who knows, right? I'm not suggesting that you necessarily wait to buy the dip because that fuck you move might be coming from a much higher price point potentially. But structurally, that's what I expect when you view things from a quarterly basis. But overall, yeah, just super, super optimistic about everything. I am definitely long across the board right now, so we'll have to wait and see. It's just a patience game, right? Wait for that spark of momentum to come. You just can't predict these things, whether it's going to come this week or maybe we set up a couple weeks of chop. But either way, right, we are starting to get into the later stages of that kind of seasonality, cyclicality argument, right? And we're definitely approaching that expected up only stage for Q4. So as I've been preaching for a while now, just touch on the optimism point, right? Always trying to see things in optimistic lights, in these markets is really going to give you an advantage over most people. Most people come into these places, get their ass kicked, and become a cynic, become a pessimist. Try to avoid that at all costs. If you've been struggling with being sidelined for a while recently, the dip did just come through, so I don't really think that the excuse was really there anymore, right? The original move from 110 to 122-ish was, was brutal if you were sidelined, but you've been given the opportunity now. So if you still haven't bought, you can use the current range that we're in as, risk definition. Essentially, buy in this area where you're at right now. If you lose 116, 115, then you're probably invalidated. I would urge you to have some wiggle room in that though, right? It definitely goes against my core principles of using key price levels, but I don't know how else to explain it to you because I don't know what it's going to look like in the future, right? But levels are definitely memes when it comes to that. So, just like I would have said, right, that you're invalidated at 115, right? And it ends up, just being a recovery standpoint, right? One cannot predict flows. All right, closing thoughts on macro are going to essentially just be 120 is our significant resistance that we're waiting to break. Like I've said several times, this does feel very similar to the 2020's major support resistance flip that set us up to trend really bigly in late Q4 of 2022 or 2020, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, main thoughts, right, are eventually we're going to break this 120K. If you get a dip down into the 118 zone, you want to buy that up. I don't really, I'm not planning around that being the case. I'm already long. If we start to bleed out, I'll invalidate some of the short-term stuff and I'll reload at 118. Pretty straightforward strategy right now, right? So let's just go ahead and move forward. TLDR, you want to be optimistic and bet on higher. Okay, we're gonna start off with the doodle bit. So my main arguments for what I expected to take place was, either the sideways distribution in the low volume node filling out between the two high volume nodes, or more violent move up and reacceptance in the range. I really did not think that we would have this V recovery, but take it as a sign of strength, honestly, right? Even if we do dip from where we're at now, you want to be looking at this as a buy the dip opportunity. So it looks like we're clearly playing out number 2. As long as we hold above the, this important HVN right here, you should be optimistic, right? That's why I think that if we do dip any lower towards 118, it's a clear buy, right? So, as much as I'm surprised, right, doodle number 2 is playing out, even though I weighted it as a lower probability. It just can't fight this ridiculous bid that is coming in on Bitcoin, right? It just cannot be faded. It's just too strong. So, like I said earlier in the macro bit, one of the main things that you're waiting for is you're just waiting patiently for an impulse. I do think that could be right around the corner, but who knows whether it's going to come from just a random buy wave or maybe some news generated flows. Let's see, make sure I didn't miss anything, right? Just general thoughts on medium time frame are, train yourself to buy the dip. Any of these moments recently when a fear wave comes through, you catch yourself being fearful, remind yourself that the macro uptrend is very much intact and that you want to be long biased, right? So when a wave of fear comes through, try to train yourself to want to be looking for buying the dip opportunities rather than is the cycle top over, do I need to sell everything, right? A little bit of altcoin yap. So altcoins, basically, I'm not overexposed to altcoins in any meaningful way. Buying ETH recently feels crazy to me, but you cannot deny that the chart, it looks fucking insanely good, right? We're really, really close to testing all-time highs on this thing. ETH is just running back the same exact Ponzi that Bitcoin did with the, treasury company, Ponzi dynamic. So you want, when you see a bubble, you see a Ponzi, you don't want to try to identify the reasons why it's going to fail, right? You want to just run in and participate, understand it's a Ponzi and that you're going to sell it eventually. I'm not going to, the way that I view my Bitcoin, right, like it's something I basically almost never want to sell. I'm not going to ever have that view on ETH, most likely, guys, just to be clear. I'm going to sell this. Solana is an underperformer. I have not advocated for being exposed to Solana for a long time, but it is something that I've held. So, I did downsize my original exposure a lot from what it was like from 2023 to 2024, and I have not added any Solana to my stack in a long time, but I do have a little bit, so it's worth counting. Got a little bit of Doge going on too. I kind of like the way that the chart's looking on Doge, so maybe I start to add to this thing. I pretty much, whenever we're risk on, I pretty much always have a bit of Doge as my super safe meme play. I like the way that the chart's developing though, guys. I think that, this could be a ripper, especially if Bitcoin's gonna go up, right? A few others that are worth noting. I like the SPX coin a lot. I think this chart looks phenomenal. It's got a great community going behind it too, so when you're looking to pick your next memes for the next risk wave, I would urge you to consider SPX. I don't own any of this actually, so I'm not talking my own book here or anything, but it's one that I look at this and it's like, should have bought this long time ago when Charlie originally showed me on it at like $1 or something. So anyways, it's probably one to look to add to or accumulate. Pepe doesn't look terrible to me. It looks like a slightly worse version of Doge. Looks okay overall. I think the hype looks really good. I don't own any hype anymore. I've had great fun trading hype, but the chart looked good, so it could be a dip buyer for sure. I think the Aave looks good if you're trying to make a DeFi play. For RWA, I really like Pendle. The structure on Pendle is really good. I could see this being a dip buyer. It's boomer season right now. Look at ETH, look at the boomer coins. What I had said in one of my recent streams or outlooks, I don't really remember. When I'm looking to add to risk exposure, look into normie and like boomery kind of things. Makes a lot of sense, right? I specifically said Ripple, which unironically looks the worst out of all of them. But like the idea is betting on these kind of, boomer coins, it's a pretty good bet right now, right? Other than that, outlooks, analysis, trades, any big updates, we're obviously going to be sharing that stuff with you. And I'm working on some educational videos as well. I have like 3 or 4 that I'm working on, but the one that I'm going to try to expedite the most is the one that I shared with you guys last week. I jokingly called it the TARD system, but I'm just trying to make a very easy, simple, complete trading system. Basically, everything that I do just like in the most simple presentation possible. So, you guys are going to love that one, honestly. Basically, what I'm going to be doing with that video is making what I wish I was given 4 or 5 years ago, right? I'm going to, it's going to hopefully turn a lot of light bulbs on for everybody. Hopefully, everyone can learn a lot faster with it. And if it ends up being a success, that'll be kind of the model or presentation style that I'll be pushing forward in the future. But that's it for me, guys. You got my plans across the board. Things are looking hot right now. So good luck out there, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.